Hello everybody, this is T with Kate's Crafty Closet with another tag in my Halloween 2020 tag series. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show y'all what we're going to be making today. So here is the tag that we will be making today. We're going to do the watercolor. This video may take a little bit longer than normal with all the ink blending and the watercolor aspect and drying with the heat tool and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get ourselves started. So the first thing we're going to need, of course, as always, we're going to need a distress tag as well first, and we're going to use some distressed ink today in our oxide. So we're using Twisted Citron and we're using Lucky Clovers. If you don't have the oxide, if you don't have the regular, you can interchange them or whatever you want to do. If you don't have these, you can use different inks as well. So we're going to start off with the Twisted Citron first, and then we're just going to, I say with the regular distressed ink, it takes a little bit longer time-wise to get that ink applied. Like, I'm not trying to be perfect with it, because like I said, a lot of this gets covered up. And we're going to put a little bit of oxide on top of it and then go back in and blend those two together. So just get good coverage, the best that you can. Whatever ink blending tool you may have. I apologize if the camera gets a little shaky. Normally, you just take your time doing this. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I took a little bit more time when I made the first one, the original one. But yeah, normally you take a little time to ink blend, and you can actually take the ink pad direct to the tag if you really wanted to, but I don't want to do that for today's technique and tag. Definitely want to make sure I get a lot on the edges. Okay, we're going to go back to this. I'm trying to get the table not to shake so much. But yeah, this probably takes the longest. It's getting that regular distress ink. Just love this color, the way it pops off the page. All right, so now we're going to go in with that Lucky Clover oxide. And I'm just going to go along those edges. Don't worry about it, any of those striation marks and stuff like that. Because it's oxide, it'll be easy to blend. Okay, and then we're going to go back in with some of the Twisted Citron, and then we'll be able to smooth out that ink. See how it just kind of smooths away? You don't see any of those marks. And we're going to add a little bit of water to it, so it'll also help blend out if you have any of those marks. And okay, and I like the way that looks. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm going to add a little bit more into the center just to brighten it up a little bit. Perfect. Okay, and then we're going to squirt some water off to the side. Then we'll clean up our ink off of our work surface as well. Okay, we're going to bring in our heat tool, and we're going to go ahead and dry that up so we can move on to the next step. And if you don't want to have a squirt bottle, you can just use a baby wipe and scrunch it up, or a paper towel and scrunch it up as well too. Okay. That's there. All right, so next thing I'm going to go in with some of that Lucky Clover again, and I'm going to ink up these edges just to bring up that color a little bit. This is not necessary, but I just like it. It kind of darkens it up a little bit. All right, so we have that. All right, cool. And now we're going to go in and bring in a stamp tool positioner. We have this witch hat stamp set. This is from an old stampendous stamp set that I probably have had in mustache, and it was the first time using it today, ironically. And we have some, this is just some Ranger mixed media card stock that I was using earlier for the other one. So I'm just going to put that in there, and I kind of pre-stamped it so I knew that it would work the way I wanted it to. Had some leftover ink from the other one. Just going to make sure it goes on there perfectly. Should be good. We're going to come in with that VersaFine Clair Nocturne because we're going to do some watercoloring, and this ink is good for watercoloring. If we don't get a perfect image the first time, it's okay. We can stamp it again, and we're good on that one. And because it is a pigment ink, I will blast it with the heat tool as well, just to make sure that we don't have any bleeding when we go to watercolor. Okay, and then we're going to take a hole punch. This is a 2.5 inch hole punch, and we're going to punch out our witch hat. So we're just going to put it here, do my best to kind of get it centered. And I'm fine with that. Pop it out. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to come in with our, we're going to just use our Distress inks minus the Nocturne. We're not going to watercolor with the Nocturne. We're going to watercolor with the black soot. So I'm just putting my Twisted Citron, my Lucky Clover, and then lastly, I'm going to come in with my black soot Distress ink. And I'm just squishing them over here off to the side onto my mat. And I'm going to squirt them with a little bit of water so I can dip the paintbrush in it. No fancy paintbrush. So I'm just going to come in with that Twisted Citron, and I'm going to just put it on there. Like, there's no perfect way to do this. Just have fun with it. Like, try not to go off too to the side because it will bleed over the edges if you put too much water, but don't stress that part don't stress that part out too much. So now I'm going to go in with my black soot, and I'm grabbing it, and we're going to go ahead and start coloring in our hat. So first thing I do is, like, I'm just going to, from the edge, and go in. Like, don't go all the way. Leave some, watercoloring is always great. Leave white space. Don't be afraid of white space. Same thing with the hat. Like, don't be afraid. Leave a little bit of white space. And if you grab that watercolor quickly, if it goes off to the side, you can sop it up with your, what do you call this thing? Your paper towel. So I'm also just cleaning off my brush and a little bit of puddle of water right there. And I wish I had my apron on so I can just brush it on my apron. So now I'm just going to go in some of that Lucky Clover. And I'm going to darken up the shadows of here. And remember, it looks like it's dark, but it will dry back like a lot. Okay, now we're going to go in and grab some more of that black just to give darker. Sometimes you may have to do this 2-3 times just to get those darker shadows on there. Like, just kind of eyeball it. It's like, don't spend a whole lot of time. Like, is this right? Is this wrong? Like, just have fun with it. See how I got a little bit off to that side? I can come in with that paper towel and just slowly wipe it away. And if it doesn't work all the way, it's okay. It's watercolor. It's one thing about watercolor. You don't necessarily have to stay in the lines. That's what I like about it so much. because I really technically don't have to stay in the lines. All right, so then we're going to add a little bit more and drag that out. Okay. And we'll fill in a little bit down there and right there. So that's kind of, and we'll add a little bit more of the Twisted Citron right here. Just so we have it, it comes a little bit brighter. So that's kind of our, that is our watercolor part. I'm going to heat set this really quickly. So, I'm just winding up giving it a little shadow on the outside just because it was already there, and that's okay. So we're just going to have fun with it. So, make, improvise. So here we go. We're just going to heat set this with our heat gun. It won't take but a few seconds. And by the time we get back to it, it'll already be dry. So we're not on that heavy water. And that's why I decided to use the Ranger Mixed Media cardstock, which is basically what the distress tag is made out of. So we don't have to worry about it warping or anything of that. So next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to come in with that Lucky Clover again. And I'm going to ink the edges of our little circle, a little hat, witch hat. Okay. Then we're going to come in and grab some of that black, the Nocturne, and I'm going to ink on top of that the black. So you'll see a little bit of shadow of green, and then the black helps draw the eye into the center where the hat is. Okay. And then we're going to put some foam squares on here, so we want to give it a little bit of a dimension to it. Just trying to move everything out of the way. And here we go. It's foam square 1. And then I should have some more foam squares around here somewhere. Like things just disappear. Like when you have them a second ago, then all of a sudden you don't have them anymore, and you're like, okay, where did it? Like where did it go? Like where did you go? And so that's what I'm doing at this given moment. It's like, where did it go? Because I trimmed it up and cut it down and everything for myself, so I wouldn't be going crazy looking for scissors. But here I am. I did all that work, and now I'm looking for the foam squares, right? So here we go. We found them. It's not the ones I had, but it's the ones that'll do. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut one of them in half. Okay, we're going to grab another whole one here, put it right next to that, and then the two halves we're going to go ahead and put on the top and on the bottom, and we'll push this to the side because we don't need to put this on our tag just yet. And I'm going to clean up my watercolor mess over here so I don't accidentally put any part of the project in it. Okay, put that to the side. I'm going to come back to our tag, and I do have this stamp set from Tim Holtz. It is the Cobwebs stamp set. Now, I'll show you the stampendous stamp that I had from a while back. It comes with a stencil too as well. So, and then the Cobwebs is link all the description box below, everything that I use. But as a Stampers Anonymous, Tim Holtz, I think it's CMS 439. So let's go. I already have it in here because I used it earlier. And I see I have that stamp image on the bottom. I kind of did that on purpose so I know where I need to line it up. But I'm just going to clear that off. But I'll line it up to this little mark right here. And we'll put that, and we'll always, like, okay, that's where I want it at. We'll come in with our Nocturne again. Actually, you know what I forgot to do? Let's do that really quickly first. I totally forgot about that. This is a Recollection spray ink that I got back in the day, so I'm like, I'm going to use this. How to unclog it, though. Just remember that you probably put the top on this, but I can't find the top, so I'm going to hold it, the nozzle, and I'm going to spray. And I'm okay with it going on my mat like that. I kind of want bigger drops. I don't really want the fine mist, so to speak. I'm going to grab some of that down here, and I'm going to ink. Like I'm going to blot it. And then some of them, the big ones, I'm going to leave alone. Like I'm okay with that big old blot. Like this one at the bottom doesn't really matter because it's going to get covered up. Okay, and if you have too much, like I said, you can go in with your heat tool and then your paper towel and grab that. So let's go and dry this up. This gives it a little darker impression on there. So thank you all for joining me. Remember, we have a sale going on the website. Anything Halloween is 25% off. A coupon code Halloween25. So make sure you check that out. Sign up for the newsletter, because if you're a newsletter subscriber, you get dibs on when first things go live, exclusive coupon codes for this is subscribers only. Keep you informed of what's going on, what's new in the store, in the crafting industry, as much as possible. Okay. And this is where I'll come in, because I don't want to spend too much time with the heat tool. I'm going to make sure I don't have any wet aspects to that. All right, so now we can go ahead and stamp our cobwebs. Okay, so we know that we want it to line up with that area. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure, yep, we're good. And we're going to use that Nocturne VersaFine Clear. And we're going to end up, if this doesn't get a perfect impression the first time, I'm good with that. It's a cobweb. They're not perfect in any which way, shape, or form. Okay. And then basically what I'm going to do is to turn it and flip it so we can get that other corner and do the same thing. Ink it up. And I'm not going for perfection, just going for placement. Okay. And there we go. We have our cool little doohickey. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take some more of that black soot distress ink, and I'm going to do a little bit of splatter. So I'm just going to smoosh some on the side here, squirt a little water, go ahead and grab that paintbrush, whoops, and make sure I grab it, and just add some splatter. You can use paint for this as well. I think I'm just using, I already have the things out. Just remember that because it's distressed ink on top of distressed ink, it's not going to be super bold, and I'm okay with that because that's kind of what I wanted to go for. And it will, if it gets wet, it will react. So if you want it to be a permanent black splatter, use like some paint. Acrylic is fine, gouache, anything that you have, distress paint. Okay. All right, next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to come back in and grab our little witch's hats. And we're going to take the release paper off of them foam squares. Okay. So what is everybody doing for Halloween this year? And you know, it's mostly virtual stuff going on, or just personal little parties and stuff. So what is everybody doing? So I'm just going to I'm okay if it goes off the edge a little bit. Totally okay with that. So that is that part. And then we have our little Tim Holtz Idea-Ology label tape, which is like the Dymo labels from back in the day. And we're just going to cut our little sentiments. Okay. Like, I'm going to use this up. All right, so we're going to put the 31, like not that way. Like not that way, Tony. See, that's why I don't always push down hard until after I'm done. And then we have the word Halloween, and we'll put like that. Let's say move the boo up a little bit, and the 31 up a little bit further. Okay, so that way we can put the Halloween up so it's not getting swallowed up underneath our little witch's hat. So now I can go ahead and burn this shit down. Then we're going to come in with like my favorite ribbon that I wish I would have bought more of, but unfortunately I did not buy any more of it. And that's just like 14 inches. And we're just going to go ahead and trim off the edges for a tail to make it easier to stick in that tag. And that's going to complete our cool little tag. It's one of those things like you can put this in a mini album, like when if you're having a little Halloween get together, or at the house or with your family. This is perfect for mini album scrapbooking. Put the pictures of the family members and their costumes or the activities that you were doing. And you can put this on a card, or you can just make a book of just tags. And you can put this on treat bags. You can do just a whole bunch of stuff with that. Home decor, wreaths, frames. So that is our tag for today. I want to thank you all for joining me, and just remember, check out the website at katescraftycloset.com. I will do my best to link the products that I've used today in the video if I have them currently in the store. And thank you all for joining me, and y'all have a crafty day, y'all, and have a spooktacular Halloween festivities.